Welcome to Kofie Point 5, my secret second channel, and today, man, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. The season's over, the draft is in like a couple of days, kind of snuck up on all of us, but I can't really think about that right now because all I can think about yesterday is the Tyrese Hallebertton Achilles injury that happened in the first quarter, and I'm going through the Rolodex. I think that in terms of timing, in terms of how much someone meant to a team, in terms of the spot of the moment, that might be the most brutal NBA injury that I've ever watched. That might be the most brutal NBA injury I've ever seen. Like you have that paired with the fact of his reaction. He knows as soon as he goes down, he knows that his season is over, right? I know it's Game 7, it's the last game of the season anyway, but he knows that this improbable run this Pacers team was on, him being the engine of it, it's gonna come down a little bit short. And I'm not saying like short in terms of the fact that like the Pacers couldn't have won that game. They had a chance. They were in that game for a little bit. I think that Tyrese Hallebertton knew just how much his team needed him on the floor, and that's what pained him so much. And we do this thing about NBA athletes where, in terms of injuries, in terms of how we treat NBA injuries, that during this entire season, we talk about players and like, why isn't this player playing? Why is this player sitting out in terms of load management, in terms of resting and all of that? And then when certain players get injured or if they're playing through injury, we go, yeah, man, this guy has a serious injury, but he got to play through it, bro. It's the playoffs. And we talk about that. And I feel like we miss the human element of the fact where a lot of us talking about these injuries don't really know what it's like to play professionally with that magnitude of an injury. I'm never gonna know, right? I'm never gonna know. Like, the closest I can think of, right, is my own injuries in my former sport, but that was high school, right? I can't even imagine multiplying that by whatever digit gets to the highest level of basketball. And I'm seeing people on TikTok being like, Tyrese Hallebertton should have sat out, he should have not played. But there's a part of me that is like, I don't believe you guys. I just don't believe. I do not believe that we as the NBA masses and media, especially with the opinion on Tyrese Hallebertton going into this, you know, I'm not even talking about the most overrated, but the fact that Tyrese Hallebertton went through the Bucks, the Knicks, and the Cavs, he was gathering an amount of people that were actively preying on his downfall for the course of 2 months because he had beaten their teams. And I think that those people that were actively wishing on Tyrese Halliburton's downfall, if Tyrese Hallebertton had sat out in that Game 7, we would have never heard the end of it, win or lose, right? I feel like it's such a... And you see the grief of the Indiana Pacers players when they lost. A couple of them stood on the court and watched the ceremony, whether it's Thomas Bryant. I think Miles Turner was also out there just like... And you saw how hurt this Pacers team was at the end. They really wanted this. So I think that we're Monday morning quarterbacking here saying that Tyrese Hallebertton should have sat out because I don't think that we have given NBA players an environment to sit out an injury that they need to sit out on without ridiculing them, being the focal point of like, this is why your team has yada yada yada. Sports media is just known for not being that empathetic, honestly. And there are a bunch of times where people get injured and they'll be like, oh man, I'm really sorry, you never see. And then you go like a week before and weren't you telling the people to like suck it up and play through this injury or whatnot? And I feel like we have just we lack the human element of thinking because we don't see these players as humans sometimes. And it really bugs me. It really bugs me sometimes where you just see these players as like, I don't know, we see these players as like characters in a TV show, right? Whereas if this person gets injured in a TV show, like it doesn't affect my day specifically, but you are playing for my entertainment, you know? It's one of those things. I feel like we often lose sight of that. And I think throughout this entire season, we've seen not this entire season, throughout this entire playoff run, we saw Lillard go down, we saw Tatum go down, and we saw Tyrese Halleberton go down, and when you have a player, we even saw, I mean, Darius Garland, even though he had like a toe injury, and people were like, what is he doing? Why is he not playing through this injury? And then he plays through it, and then after the season, he has like 4 to 5 months of recovery because his injury was serious. And then we were actively asking him to play the peak form of basketball in his condition. And I think that with these injuries, there's not really a one foolproof way to prevent injuries of any kind, but it's the thing where I just look at it just like, I felt so bad for Tyrese. There are only like a couple of injuries where I can like really think of, where it's like the Kevin Ware injury, right? RG3, not the RG3 ACL thing, the Derrick Rose injury, Paul George injury, Gordon Hayward injury. Tyrese Halleberton having that injury in like probably what will go down as the most important game of his life is a level of brutal that I just can't even begin to fathom how he feels right now, right? And on top of that, you have Pacers heartbreak as well. You have Reggie Miller, and you go through Reggie Miller, who wasn't able to win a ring due to the 2000 finals and due to the malice at the palace, right? If you've been a Pacers fan for a long time, this was probably one of the most important games for you as a fan base, for you as a fan, right? And my heart really breaks for Tyrese Halleberton. And I think Miles Turner and J-Dub were also, I think J-Dub in an interview was like, we're all not 100% right now. Everyone's banged up. We've been playing playoff basketball for 2 months, right? So it's just, I feel like maybe we feel like basketball because you're not wearing pads and it's not considered a contact sport like football or hockey. We just assume that basketball doesn't have as much wear and tear as those sports. And I'm like, no, basketball it's a tough sport to play with all that cardio, all that contact. You hit the ground a lot. There's so much that goes into basketball wear and tear, and we kind of just conflate it with like, the generation before us played all 82 games and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's not the same game, bro. Defenses have to cover more ground than ever before. I feel like we as a NBA fan base really need to look in the mirror and see how we treat NBA players when they're injured, right? I think that just needs a complete overhaul. I really feel bad for Tyrese Halleberton, man. Wow. I really just needed to talk about this because I know that we're gonna see some people be like, oh, he shouldn't have played, and they're trying to do the hindsight thing, and I'm like, he shouldn't have played. And I'm like, have we as an NBA fan base really cultivated an environment to where if he didn't play, we would have accepted it? I mean, it's not for us to accept, but I could see it right now. Like, first things first. Everybody's being like, Tyrese Halleberton really sat out the biggest game of his career. It's a lose-lose no matter what. And we keep putting these athletes in lose-lose situations in terms of, we think about legacies and all that. We think about legacies way too much in this. But anyway, thank you guys for watching the end of the video. I love you guys. Prayers up to Tyrese Halleberton. Wishing you a speedy, healthy recovery. And oh my goodness. Have a good one, y'all.